In the last video we did for this channel, Erin and I tested out 7 pairs of shoes to find which of those was the best shoe specifically for weightlifting. Now for this video, we're testing 8 pairs of shoes. With Nike releasing the new Metcon 7s recently, we managed to add those into our lineup of shoes, which include the Nike Metcon 5s, 6s, and 7s, the Reebok Nano X1s, NoBulls, Puma Fuse, GoRucks, and the Innov8s. But this time, we're trying to figure out which is the best shoe for Metcons. And if you're not familiar with the term, Metcon stands for metabolic conditioning. Metcon workouts are meant to elevate your heart rate and improve aerobic fitness. They're also meant to improve strength, muscular endurance, and gymnastics abilities. Most Metcons include some cardio, which could be running, rowing, or biking, weightlifting, and gymnastics movements like pull-ups, muscle-ups, or handstand walks, among other things. Now we already know that the Metcon 5s and 6s ranked the highest for weightlifting. So for this video, we're going to focus only on plyometrics, which is basically a type of training that uses speed and force of different movements to build muscle power. To score all these shoes, we did an extensive amount of testing over the past 4 months and gathered a ton of data, like weight, hardness of the insoles, drop, special features a shoe might have, breathability, toe box width. We even wore every single pair of shoes for 24 hours just to see how comfortable they really are. Yep, we take testing very seriously. And honestly, collecting data and testing every shoe hasn't been easy. It takes a lot of time and effort. Mostly because Erin has taken the time to measure and take into account every single tiny little feature for every shoe, and for the testing portion because I take forever to finish workouts. But hey, real usage. Now before we get into the top 3 shoes for Metcons, we're quickly going to go through every shoe we tested and point out what the deal breaker was for each, starting with the NoBulls. Now the NoBulls have been getting a lot of attention lately, especially since they're the new sponsor for the CrossFit Games. But in our opinion, they're honestly not that great. When you put them on, they feel kind of boxy. They're the shoe with the smallest drop in our list and barely any breathability. The Puma Fuse might be our least favorite in the entire group. When we ordered them, the website stated we should get 1 size up because they run small. So we went 1 size up, and when they arrived, they were still really tight. So we had to send them back and get another size up. The fit of the shoe is a little strange in our opinion. It feels tight along the sides and on the midfoot, but the worst part about these shoes is that the insoles are really squishy, and they're also the heaviest shoe in our list. Next were the GoRucks. Now the GoRucks were actually one of our favorite shoes during the entire testing period. They're not as nice to look at or have as many color and design options as the NoBulls or the Metcons, but they feel great. We've done dozens of workouts with them and they've never disappointed. To be honest, the only downside to these shoes on paper is the fact that they're one of the heaviest and have a small drop. But when we used them in the gym, they performed well during both Metcons and weightlifting. Next were the Metcon 7s. Now these shoes are pretty flashy. I'm not gonna lie, I was really excited to test them out, but my excitement didn't last very long. The new updates for the 7s are more like a downgrade, to be honest. To start, Nike got rid of the Hyperlift. Now, they say they've added it permanently into the heel, but when we measured the heel thickness, it just doesn't add up when compared to the 5s or the 6s that do come with the Hyperlift. As a side note, we tested adding the old Hyperlift into the 7s and it totally works. So if you've got any of the older model Metcons, keep the Hyperlift if you're thinking of downgrading. These shoes are a tiny bit bigger than previous Metcon models in areas like length, heel width, and toe box width. But for some reason, the fit of these shoes is very snug. The mesh material on the shoes is also a tighter knit than the 6s, making your feet feel extremely hot and just uncomfortable during workouts. The coolest and most useful addition to the Metcons is probably the lace lock. They finally stayed tied, and the biggest letdown for these shoes is the hardness of the insoles. Nike got rid of the previous model for the insoles. They're now super thin and pretty squishy. To be honest, the Metcon 7s aren't terrible. They have a nice rubber tread on the bottom, making them really grippy for things like box jumps. The grip that wraps around the midfoot is also larger. That'll help with rope climbs, and they're completely customizable, which is pretty cool. If you're interested in getting the 7s, we'd recommend you check out our Metcon 6 versus 7 comparison video first, where we go into complete details about this shoe. And the last pair of shoes we used were the Metcon 5s. For this video, we didn't actually put them into the scoring system because, well, they're an older model. But to be fair, they would have performed very well in this category. So with that out of the way, here are the top 3 shoes on paper for Metcon workouts. the Metcon 6s, the Innov8s, and the Reebok Nanos. Now the Metcon scored the highest in terms of hardness, drop, breathability, and extra features. The standout feature of the Metcon 6s is the Hyperlift that adds about 7mm to the drop, making it ideal for switching from running, push-ups, pull-ups, etc. to weightlifting. It also helps with mobility at the bottom of your squats. In second place, the Innov8s had the best score in terms of toe box width, weight, drop, and breathability. These shoes are light and have a functional design. The wider toe box allows for better stability, and the large drop helps with mobility and good posture when lifting. And in third place, the Reebok Nano X1s. These shoes had a high score in terms of weight, hardness, and breathability. The Nanos are light with hard insoles. The hardness of a shoe is important, especially when jumping or weightlifting. These insoles won't absorb all your power. Instead, they'll transfer it from your feet through your body more efficiently. The Nanos also won't make your feet feel like they're on fire during workouts. Now, as you already know, we don't just stop at collecting data. We actually test everything out over and over to make sure that we're giving you the best recommendation. So Aaron and I did a bunch of workouts with the top 3 shoes in order to see if the data we collected was accurate. And well...
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a quick workout. We kinda already, well, at least I know what shoe I like the best because it just kinda corresponds with how many times I've actually tracked I've used the shoe, which actually isn't in the top 3, but you'll find out soon enough. Quick workout. It's gonna be 4 rounds. Val goes, I go. Val goes, I go. You get the idea. For this workout, we're gonna do 40 double unders followed by 15 box jumps, 10 kettlebell box step overs, and then 10 shuttle runs. And so with the double unders, we're just seeing how well they feel underneath our feet. With the box jumps, kind of the same thing. With the kettlebell box step overs, it's more of the lateral movement that we're gonna be concerned with, and same thing with at the end of the shuttle runs. And so after we do that, we're gonna break it down about what we think about the different shoes.
How are those knee sleeves feeling rubbing against your scrape?
These Bear Complex things, they're larger, so they're just sitting right on top of it right now. And as an interesting note, swapping knee sleeves in the middle of a workout is actually really hard. Like stuff that I thought I would never need to know, and now you guys know too.
Is that because you're really sweaty?
Yeah, like they
like stick.
So like trying to like peel it off while not trying to like rub against like the bone bruise I'm gonna get from that box jump is gonna be fun. So it's pretty warm for us. It's 33 degrees Celsius right now. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, and that's abnormally warm for us. So we're sweating a bucket, and this workout wasn't terribly tough, but it's just very warm out. So we're gonna go with the shoe that we didn't like the most, and then we're gonna go inside, cool down a bit, and then talk about the other 3 shoes, the top 3. For me, the shoe that did not stand out was actually the Metcon 6s, which is surprising because I thought I would like those more. How about you, Val?
I agree that the Metcons didn't have something that like really stood out, but the worst for me were the GoRucks.
The GoRucks?
I didn't like them. They feel so chunky and like heavy, and maybe it's the heat or I don't know, but like the box jumps just felt so hard. Like, yeah, I just felt really heavy with these shoes on.
All right, so we're gonna go wipe ourselves off. And use polysporin. So after doing that, we went from our really warm gym to the really warm studio. It's 36 outside, it's almost 31 in here, so it's definitely not much better. Monty's not here, as you'll see. Monty's back home in an air-conditioned house, because the last few days he's just been lying around, and sometimes I think he's dead because it's so hot. I feel bad for him. Anyways, one of the things we forgot to mention earlier was that I actually had to buy brand new socks in order for me to test all these shoes. Why? Because shoes like the Innov8, the heel cup is actually very tall. And so if you wear ankle socks, they come up to about here, and so you end up rubbing the back of your foot with the back of the shoe. And so if you're doing stuff like running, well, friction and your skin generally don't work well after a while. Isn't that right, Val?
No, that's right. I wore the Nanos for a workout that involved a lot of running, and it like peeled the back of my heels on both feet, so that wasn't fun. I got the blood stains out though, which is good.
The resale value of those shoes are now 0. Now when it comes to overall wear and tear, like we've been testing these shoes for 6 months now, and nothing other than like my Innov8s, like this useless part is starting to fray. But overall, there hasn't been a shoe where it felt like it was gonna fall apart completely. Now, I've used the shoes that you're seeing in this video, each one of them at least 20-25 times in the last 6 months. I've been keeping track of all the times that I use the shoes. The one pair of shoes that I've used, I think 8 times, maybe 9, are the Puma Fuses, because they're just freaking weird shoes. Way to go, Puma. Like, oh my gosh. But honestly, it's taken that much effort. I work out 1 to 2 times a day, and then it's taken that long in order to do this shoe review. So that's kind of how serious we take it. Anyways, on to the final rankings after that workout. And we realized when we were chatting, trying to figure out what to say, is that there's actually 2 parts to the ranking, because that workout we designed specifically to test kind of the side to side movement. And it actually was very evident to us which shoes were better for that when compared to the shoes that I would just generally default to. Anyways, we're going to talk about that. So Val, for that workout, what were your rankings? We both agreed that the Metcons weren't that great. But what's your best shoe? What was the best shoe for that workout?
For me, it was the Nanos.
The Nanos?
And that's surprising, because when we first got all these shoes back in, I don't remember when, I feel like these were my least favorite, but yeah, these were the best.
For that workout with a lot of the side stuff, those ones.
The Nanos, yeah.
And usually, like, I find the Nanos, the toe box is a little just too like mushy, but it actually worked very well for that. I actually did Murph in the Nanos, and it was pretty good. For me, it was the Nanos as well. I really enjoyed using them. My second pick were the GoRucks. Like, I absolutely love these shoes. Like, I love how rigid they are. I love how, like, they're a tighter fitting shoe, so I really enjoy just like my feet. Like, I initially thought that my feet would roll a lot. Like, I'm very afraid of my ankles rolling. But once you get used to them, like these GoRucks are generally one of my go-to shoes. What's your second one?
I do agree with what you said about the GoRucks. Like, I really like them as well. I feel like they're a very like solid shoe. I don't know if it was the heat or I was just tired, but the GoRucks felt so heavy in my opinion. Like, this big fat chunk at the bottom, like they just felt way too heavy. My second pick were the Innov8s. I like how they fit. Like, I like how they hold your foot. Like, I think I've said it before that I like this thing. It just makes it feel really stable, like on the box jumps, and when you're moving your foot like to the side, it doesn't, like you said, like roll. This keeps it all like,
I find them way, like, when there's a lot of jumping stuff, like the box jumps, like the skipping, like I really find that the cushioning for the shoe is much better. Like, I don't mind running in them, but like the drop is pretty significant between them. So if you're a heel runner, it might be okay. But because I run on the ball of my foot, I generally have a hard time with these shoes when it comes to running. Like, it's so bloody warm. Like, what are we drinking? We're drinking micheladas.
no, that's not what we're drinking. We're drinking micheladas.
There's a lot of salt in this drink, which is like something my body is craving because I'm just constantly sweating.
This is so good. You need to try it.
In third place for that workout, for me, it was the Innov8s. I didn't like during the running parts when you're going from side to side, like it didn't seem as stable. Like the sole of the shoe is very, very soft. And so like when you're pushing against it, it feels like you're not getting as much grip into the ground because your feet are compressing and the shoe's still kind of moving along. That was pretty evident in that workout. What was your number 3?
Number 3 for me were the Metcons. I like the Metcons, I love them. They're like my go-to, but nothing really stood out in this workout. But yeah, number 3 are these.
And so that was for this workout. We realized that like when we designed it, it was specifically to test the side to side because that's something that we don't usually do in a lot of CrossFit workouts. When it comes to just, well, the rankings are different. So overall, after all the stuff that we've done with these shoes, barring just like from a high level, my top 3s are going to be the Innov8s, the Metcon 6s, as well as the GoRucks. And I say that because out of all the shoes that I've like tracked using, these 3 pairs of shoes are the ones that I always default to. I didn't rank the Metcon 6s as high because I do own a pair of lifters. And so if it's a lifting workout, I will suffer through like, you know, doing burpees with my lifting shoes. And so that's why this isn't number 1. I will default to Innov8s if I don't know what the workout is because it's just, overall, it's a better shoe. And I just really like the GoRucks. It's just a very solid platform. One thing about the GoRucks is that if there's handstand push-ups, that actually goes for the Innov8s as well. If there's handstand push-ups in a workout, I'll use the Metcon 6s because the back of these shoes, there isn't actually a smooth part. So when you kick up and you slide back down, there's a bit of friction, or going up, there's a bit of friction, like as the heel of the shoe kind of rubs against the wall, and that, you know, might cost me a quarter of a rep. But those are my top 3s overalls. Like, again, if you don't have lifters, just go with the Metcons with the Hyperlifts. Like overall, as a general shoe for CrossFit, Metcon 6s are great. Here's a secret for you. The Metcon 5s are better. So if they're on sale, get those instead.
No, because the laces don't stay tight.
Triple knot them. Quadruple knot them. Buy those little things that you have to like slide in and like tighten it. Like I just doing like heavy squats with the Metcon 6s with the sole that's just a little softer. It annoys me.
Well,
so.
now that you mentioned having lifters, that changes my overall 3 as well. Yeah, if you're taking into account that you have lifters, then I would default to the Innov8s first.
So take into account that you don't have lifters.
If I don't have lifters, I'd go with the Metcon 6s.
Metcon 6s?
Yes.
Why?
Because I can put the Hyperlift in and turn them into somewhat of a lifter shoe.
With the higher drop. Higher drops are nice for weightlifting. So Val, what are your top 3 shoes overall?
Overall, if I don't own a pair of lifters, I would go with the Metcon 6s in first place because of the Hyperlift. Then I'd go with the Innov8s. And in third, I really can't decide. Like it's a tie between 2. And it would be the GoRucks and the Nanos. And I say that because I don't like the Nanos for weightlifting. I feel like my feet move too much inside these shoes. But they felt great today during the Metcon. Like that, they were really nice for that. But yeah, maybe the GoRucks by like a tiny bit beat out the Nanos. So I guess the GoRucks would be third place for me.
All right. So that's all we got for this video. It's taken us 6 months to kind of finish it all off. And now we've got a bunch of shoes that we're probably never going to use, like the Puma Fuses and the NoBulls. Pretty, but useless.
Yeah, the NoBulls really surprised me. I thought I was going to love them.
All the other shoes, like by themselves, sure.
And for both of us, they were never in the top anything.
They're just so terrible. Pretty, but useless. Yeah. Anyways, as other shoes come out, as the new Metcons come out, as Under Armour releases an updated Tri-Base Rain 4, I know that's one shoe that we haven't tested, but that's because it was released over a year and a half ago when we were buying all these shoes. And so we weren't gonna take the effort to review an older shoe that might be updated. So that's kind of all we got. First time watching one of our videos, I do encourage you to click subscribe. What else can they do?
You can hit the notification bell. You can support us through Patreon and also sign up to all our other channels.
Yeah, we are drinking Micheladas.
No, michelada. Can you try and say it?
No.
Michelada.
So do check out that video in the link in the description section below. Oh, and get your shoes through our Amazon links because nobody paid us to spend thousands of dollars to review shoes. Yeah. Even though CrossFit is just rife with influencer marketing.
Oh, that's true.
It's terrible. So useless. Thanks for watching.